Purposely. Your life, God's purpose. Listen at purposely.com.
When I was in college, there was a teacher who assigned her students a prompt to write a story about missing shoes on the side of the road. Suddenly, when I was driving, I saw single shoes everywhere. I don't think I'd ever noticed or taken the time to consider how these random shoes ended up on the side of the road or the highway. Was it a child who mischievously dangled their shoe out of the car and accidentally lost their grip on it? Did it tumble off the back of a truck on a moving day from one house to another? Did someone kick it off Cinderella style as they were running to the nearest exit after their car broke down? Who knows? It's one of those mysteries that is hard to shake once you start thinking about it. I'm Jen. This is the Bible for Busy People podcast, and this week we've been talking about the book of Ruth. In the chapter that we're going to read today, we will solve the mystery of at least one missing shoe. This is in Ruth chapter 4, starting in verse 1. It says, "Meanwhile, Boaz went up to the town gate and sat down there just as the guardian redeemer he had mentioned came along. Boaz said, 'Come over here, my friend, and sit down.' So he went over and sat down. Boaz took 10 of the elders of the town and said, 'Sit here,' and they did so. Then he said to the guardian redeemer, 'Naomi, who has come back from Moab, is selling the piece of land that belonged to our relative Elimelech. I thought I should bring the matter to your attention and suggest that you buy it in the presence of these seated here and in the presence of the elders of my people. If you will redeem it, do so. But if you will not, tell me so I will know. For no one has the right to do it except you, and I am the next in line.' 'I will redeem it,' he said. Then Boaz said, 'On the day you buy the land from Naomi, you also acquire Ruth the Moabite, the dead man's widow, in order to maintain the name of the dead with his property.' At this, the guardian redeemer said, 'Then I cannot redeem it because I might endanger my own estate. You redeem it yourself. I cannot do it.' Now, in earlier times in Israel, for the redemption and transfer of property to become final, one party took off his sandal and gave it to the other. This was the method of legalizing transactions in Israel. Confusing, but okay. So the guardian redeemer said to Boaz, 'Buy it yourself,' and he removed his sandal. Then Boaz announced to the elders and all the people, 'Today you are witnesses that I have bought from Naomi all the property of Elimelech, Kilion, and Mahlon. I have also acquired Ruth the Moabite, Mahlon's widow, as my wife, in order to maintain the name of the dead with his property, so that his name will not disappear from among his family or from his hometown. Today you are witnesses.' Then the elders and all the people at the gate said, 'We are witnesses. May the Lord make the woman who is coming into your home like Rachel and Leah, who together built up the family of Israel. May you have standing in Ephrathah and be famous in Bethlehem. Through the offspring the Lord gives you by this young woman, may your family be like that of Perez, whom Tamar bore to Judah.' So Boaz took Ruth, and she became his wife. When he made love to her, the Lord enabled her to conceive, and she gave birth to a son. The women said to Naomi, 'Praise be to the Lord, who this day has not left you without a guardian redeemer. May he become famous throughout Israel. He will renew your life and sustain you in your old age. For your daughter-in-law, who loves you and who is better to you than 7 sons, has given him birth.' Then Naomi took the child in her arms and cared for him. The women living there said, 'Naomi has a son,' and they named him Obed. He was the father of Jesse, the father of David. This then is the family line of Perez. Perez was the father of Hezron, Hezron the father of Ram, Ram the father of Amminadab, Amminadab the father of Nahshon, Nahshon the father of Salmon, Salmon the father of Boaz, Boaz the father of Obed, Obed the father of Jesse, and Jesse the father of David." Yesterday, we talked about how Ruth approached Boaz with a marriage proposal. It was kind of like a business proposal in some ways, to carry on Elimelech's family name for protection and for companionship. It was also a spiritual proposal, more of a prompt to start the process of doing the right thing by Naomi and Ruth. Deuteronomy 25 verses 5-6 says, "If brothers are living together and one of them dies without a son, his widow must not marry outside the family. Her husband's brother shall take her and marry her and fulfill the duty of a brother-in-law to her. The first son she bears shall carry on the name of the dead brother so that his name will not be blotted out from Israel." It sounds like a confusing custom in our day and age, but that was the custom, the tradition, and the law back then. Here's where the missing shoe comes into play. In verse 7, it says, "However, if a man does not want to marry his brother's wife, she shall go to the elders at the town gate and say, 'My husband's brother refuses to carry on his brother's name in Israel. He will not fulfill the duty of a brother-in-law to me.' Then the elders of his town shall summon him and talk to him. If he persists in saying, 'I do not want to marry her,' his brother's widow shall go up to him in the presence of the elders, take off one of his sandals, spit in his face, and say, 'This is what is done to the man who will not build up his brother's family line. That man's line shall be known in Israel as the family of the unsandaled.'" So it was serious to not do what they are supposed to do. See, actually, the original kinsman redeemer had not stepped up to do his job of marrying Naomi or Ruth and carrying on the name of Elimelech. We could let that one pass. Maybe he genuinely didn't know the situation, but then he officially opted out of doing what he was supposed to do. He was given that option by the law and by God, but it clearly wasn't the honorable one. So the missing sandal, he gave up the duty that was his to do. Regardless, this is the outcome we were hoping for. Ruth and Boaz are able to marry. Boaz, too, has gotten a little tricky himself in the presentation of this opportunity, by the way, which we talked about yesterday, being a bit of a trickster. And then they're blessed with a child, Obed, who is to carry on Elimelech's name. The whole community sees and shares in this blessing. And it's interesting that they wish for him to be famous throughout the land of Israel, and he kind of becomes famous. He is a part of the lineage of David and then later the lineage of Jesus. Again, the main points of this book go beyond a rom-com. God's loving kindness, his hesed, is on display. God's goodness shows up through the unexpected. His hesed is shown through people, too. Also, that God welcomes in the outsider who seeks him, and that outsider sets a faithful example to those around her. There is restoration and reconciliation of relationship, community, and well-being, which is key. It happens for Naomi because of Ruth and Boaz, and also in an overarching story in the story of the Bible, God orchestrates it for us too. Naomi shows us what it is like to hold both faith and pain, to grapple with it and bring it to God and have goodness restored in her life. As Jacqueline Lapsley says in her book, Whispering the Word, this women-filled book answers turmoil with quiet, active faith and the ultimate possibility of making God's blessings manifest in the lives of individuals and the community. The answer to turmoil is, it suggests, without denying our own self-interest, to turn our energies towards others by creating the world of blessing we would have for them and for ourselves. I hope our look at Ruth this week has made you consider this story and maybe find new value and meaning through it. God is still moving through the most difficult tragedies of our lives. God sees us and provides for us. God wants to be reconciled to us. God shows us loving kindness, and we show it to each other. Thanks for chatting with me this week. Let's talk again next week.
Thank you for listening to The Bible for Busy People. If you need prayer or want to go deeper in your faith, visit our show notes. Will you take a moment to share with a friend and leave a review? It helps the Bible get into even more people's minds and hearts. Find more podcasts that will recharge you at purposely.com.